Is a national basic income a good idea? First, I will tell you a little bit more about myself. I am in my late 20s. I am on the spectrum for autism. I could not complete my college degree because I have a very bad memory. I can't really do advanced forms of math. I have failed so far to find a job or career that I wouldn't mind doing long term. There have been some jobs that I've been able to do for a number of months. There have been some jobs that I've been able to do for a number of years. Um, but basically, for every position that I have worked at, I either had a mental breakdown after a while or I just physically couldn't do it. And these are not complex jobs, mind you. These are the most common jobs available. And some of them, I even worked with some other people with mental disabilities. One of my core problems is I have extreme social anxiety. The only place where I feel truly comfortable is in my room. I have looked into trying to find a mental institution to live at. 100 years ago, these used to be called insane asylums. From the research that I have done, an autistic person does not have the option to live in a mental institution permanently, at least not in my state. I did stay at a mental institution for a number of days, but they told me that it can only be temporary. From the research that I have done, 60 years ago, many more people lived in mental institutions for various reasons. Deinstitutionalization started in the 1960s and has continued until today. Now, the mentally ill have a set of options to decide. Some mentally ill people end up in jail, which costs taxpayers $31,000 a year per inmate. Some mentally ill people just go about their lives and keep trying to pretend they're regular people. They try to find a career doing one thing or another. They might drive around or walk around like they're just like anybody else. Some people with disabilities get Social Security disability. I don't really think, though, that it is that easy to get approved for that program. One thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is the power of intelligence. If you have a relative basic intelligence, then you can do basically any job there is. I know some people that if they choose to be, they could be an engineer, doctor, scientist, construction worker, computer programmer, teacher, baker, or anything else they want because they have high God given intelligence. Some people have higher IQs. For some people, the only thing determining how successful they will become is how hard they want to work. Many of these people will tell you that their hard work has made them successful. I don't deny that. Let me tell you the difference between them and me. In high school, high school they studied for 3 hours a night and they got straight A's. In high school, I studied for 3 hours a night and got C minuses. Hard work is not the only thing that separates the rich and the poor. Everyone is given a different set of opportunities when they start in life. I have been fortunate enough to have two loving, though divorced, parents. Everyone is born into a different kinds of situations, though. Some people have disadvantaged backgrounds, and some people have mental disabilities that hinder them in any possible career. Do you know how many jobs are available if you have a bad short term memory? Everyone just says, oh, just work at McDonald's. Anyone can do that. Well, look, I did work there. I tried to cashier first. The customer would tell me the three items they wanted. I would input that into the computer, but they would say they wanted a Diet Coke and an iced mocha coffee. By the time I walked the 2 feet over to the drink machines, I would have completely forgotten what they said. I could ask them again 10 times and I still couldn't remember what they said. If I was in the kitchen making burgers, on the screen above me, it would say 2 junior cheeseburgers and 10 McNuggets. I would press the OK button, and then what was on the screen would disappear, and I would have zero memory of what it said. There are no solutions to this cashiering problem or cooking problem. I am mentally incapable of doing either of these jobs. So next, they put me as the lobby cleaner. This was probably the best of the three positions. However, I still couldn't really do it because I have had back problems all my life. And 90% of the time, I was just in this low outstretched position, sweeping under the table, which I just couldn't do for hours on end. However, with that said, I did have a janitor job in the past that was the best job I ever had because there wasn't much communication or memory skills required. It was just light physical labor. I am currently applying for jobs to be a janitor right now. However, you would be surprised how competitive it is to get a job like that. It might be a hard job, but it seems like, at least in my city, I'm competing with everyone for these jobs. So the political issue I'm most passionate about is the national basic income. Some people want a universal basic income. I don't completely understand the logic for the government to give it to everyone, as far as the universal part. But anyway, a basic income would be the government giving maybe the poorest 30 to 50% of the population money to spend on whatever they want. A negative income tax is one way to do this. Like the earned income tax credit, when you do your taxes, you would just get a check. There's a debate on what would be a fair amount. This is how I would do it. I would break it into a bunch of brackets. If you made less than $10,000 for the year, then you would get $10,000. If you made between $10,000 and $20,000, then you would get $8,000. If you made between $20,000 and $30,000, you would get a check for $5,000. If you made between $30,000 and $40,000 annual income, you would get $3,000. Incomes between $40,000 and $50,000 would get $1,000, and that's it. Under this scenario, the upper middle class wouldn't actually get anything. It is indeed possible, if you are living in the right part of the country and with roommates, you can actually live on or close to $10,000 a year, believe it or not. But the key idea is that people will want to continue working because obviously you will make more than $10,000 a year if you're even working part-time minimum wage. Minimum wage plus the basic income will get you like $18,000 to $26,000 total dollars, which is a big step up. To pay for it, I would have the upper class, or those making $100,000 a year or more, would pay maybe 2 to 5% more in taxes. In the past, some say that the welfare was taken advantage of by people having a bunch of kids to increase their check. Well, in a basic income, the number of kids has zero effect on it. Yes, I know there are criticisms of the basic income. Some say that it is socialism. Some say that it will make people lazy and not want to work. Some say that the government money should instead be put to better use, like free college or free healthcare. I don't think that is socialism. People would still want to work because who the hell wants to just make $10,000 a year? Even the people making minimum wage would only have about $25,000 a year in this plan, which would still be hard to start a family with. You would still be in the lower class, and the United States is already the most capitalistic country in the world, so I highly doubt that this would slow down the GDP or anything like that. Maybe if a country like Brazil or Denmark did this, it might not be as good of an idea, but the United States is the richest country in the world, and we have the biggest stock market in the world. Look how many Fortune 500 corporations exist here. It is absurd to say that giving poor people enough money to not live on the streets is socialism. Then, of course, there is the alternative Bernie Sanders ideas of free college and free healthcare. First of all, I'm not opposed to either of these ideas. However, we could do those in a more reasonable, cost-effective way than he is proposing. Bernie's healthcare plan is basically Medicare for all. My issue is that that would cost a lot more than a basic income. A cheaper idea is to give Medicaid, which is an excellent program, by the way, was already expanded a bunch under Obamacare, to every American. Boom. That's universal health care right there. Everyone can go to the doctor with Medicaid, free surgeries, problem solved. Then drop Medicare from 65 and older to 55 and older. This will help many unhealthy middle-aged people live longer and healthier. So Bernie's Medicare for All plan costs $2.5 trillion annually. My Medicaid for All and much expanded Medicare only costs $1 trillion annually. 2.5 trillion versus 1 trillion. The reason the price difference is so great is that Medicare is a much more expensive program than Medicaid. And really, only older people need that level of healthcare because older people are closer to death and need much more powerful healthcare to have a long lifespan. As far as free college, there are cheaper ways to accomplish that goal than Bernie's as well. Just make community college completely free. You know you can get a bachelor's degree from community colleges now, right? And you do know that vocational programs are included in community colleges, right? So just give out more Pell Grants for people that want to go to universities, or we can make online college free. So this idea would cost about $220 billion compared to Bernie's plan, which would cost $1.5 trillion. Big difference. Also, keep in mind that many people, such as myself, are not college material. We have to help people who don't have the mental capacity to graduate from college. Hell, I barely graduated from high school. So yes, there are cheaper ways to do free college and free healthcare. A basic income doesn't necessarily compete with those two ideas. But if it does compete, then it is the more important idea because it helps people who can't help themselves. A basic income is more progressive idea as well because it helps the lower class much more than Bernie's healthcare and college plans do. Maybe the biggest reason for basic income is the technological revolution that is happening right now. Many of the most common jobs we have right now will not exist 15 years from now. Cashiers will very quickly become obsolete as Walmart and Amazon are starting to build stores right now without any cash registers. You just walk into the store, take the product you want, then walk out. Your card will be charged as you leave the store. That is the wave of the future. Truck drivers will be gone when we have self-driving cars. These will be here sooner than you know it. The roads will be much safer when computers do all the driving instead of the reckless, fallible humans. Computers will take many of the jobs today. And so the question is, what are all those people going to do when their jobs are automated? So there's also other ways to do a semi-basic income without actually creating a new government program. One option is to expand food stamps so that all the lower class people have access to it. Food basically equals money when you are poor anyways. Expanding Social Security would especially help people with disabilities. Also massively expand the earned income tax credit or negative taxation to give working class people more money in their tax refund would be a huge deal for people that need it. So those are three already existing systems that, if expanded upon, could create a form of a basic income. Look, I know politically all of this stuff is very controversial. But a basic income would help people who can't help themselves, as technology makes life takes more and more people's jobs away every day, and the few jobs that are left are hyper competitive to obtain. We need something that can protect them from living on the streets. I know one thing: if my mom ever decided to stop helping me out and I failed to find a job in time, then I would be living on the streets. Trust me, it's not my fault I've got to this point. I studied harder in school than anyone else. I really mean that. I literally spent more time on my homework than anyone I went to school with. But because of my learning disability, I can't absorb that information. We need a program that protects people with mental handicaps. We need a safety net in this cutthroat capitalist society. We need a basic income. So what do you think a basic income is a good idea? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.